And boom, we are officially live everywhere, I believe. Yep, we're good. We've got the live stream going on Facebook, got the live stream going on YouTube. This is exciting. I'm really enjoying these live streams. It's my first one on Facebook, so yeah, hoping, just looking at the Facebook, making sure it's working properly. I think it is. We'll find out in a minute. All right, guys, I'm doing something fun today. I was, someone in a YouTube comment said I should do what's called the language tag. Language tag, basically what it is, it's a list of 11 different questions related to languages that I can answer. So thought we'd jump into that. And then I can actually tag another YouTuber. So actually pass this challenge, I can get them to answer it as well. So let's jump in. So question number 1 of the language tag is, what do you consider to be your native language? Super easy. English is my native language. I'm from Canada, and yeah, I grew up speaking English. I guess I could say that Gujarati is my native language, since that, I guess, technically was the first language I learned. So a language that my family speaks. But yeah, I mean, overall, I would definitely say my English is way better, and it's definitely my native language. So that's that. Next thing here, what was your first language learning experience? My first language learning experience was probably learning French. My mom put me in a French immersion school, so basically that meant that I grew up in an English-speaking city. However, I actually went to an all-French school. And so that was probably my first language learning experience at the ripe old age of 5 years old. So question number 3, what languages have you studied and why did you start them? I think, sorry, I'm gonna multitask here. I'm just gonna open up the Facebook stream. I wanna share this Facebook stream on my personal page as well. Here we go. Way to share it. Let's share this up. Let's share it up. Let's share it up. Oh, I just noticed that I should actually, on my Facebook, probably have it this way. That might be better. There we go. Let's have it this way on my Facebook. Let's share this. Sorry, guys, I'm new to the Facebook stream, so yeah, new to the Facebook stream, so I just had to fix something really quickly. So where were we here? So we were talking about the next question, which was, how does your personality affect how you learn languages? Right, got it. So I would say, I think it has a lot of impacts, right? I think your personality has a huge impact. Oh, no, sorry. What languages have you studied and why did you start them? That is the question. So I've studied, so French was probably the first language I studied. I started it because mom put me in a French and so I was, yeah, I learned it in a sense. I was forced to, quote unquote, forced, didn't really. But then I continued because I learned to like it. School, studied Spanish, which I really enjoyed. I chose to study that one because after French, I realized I really liked languages. So Spanish was offered at my high school, so I studied. My next language was would have been Chinese, so Mandarin, what I'm actually currently studying right now. So I'm in beautiful China right now, studying Chinese. Studied that just because, again, love languages, sounded like a really great language to learn. A couple of the languages I've studied less formally would be, number 1 would be Brazilian Portuguese. That was because I actually went to Brazil with my soccer team. And I really wanted to learn the language. And so I thought, I'm in Brazil. So I ended up meeting someone and yeah, they started to teach me some Portuguese. So once upon a time, I did speak a basic level of Portuguese, but yeah, I've obviously lost a lot of it since I haven't actually practiced. Next question here, let me pull it up. How does your personality affect how you learn languages? This is interesting. I think your personality is a massive, yeah, a really big effect on how you study languages. Give me a second here, guys. I want to do something quickly. I want to share this. I realized I didn't share this properly on Facebook. I shared it in a bit of a strange way. Let me just reshare this. Language tag, live, exclamation mark, post. There we go. Now it's shared properly. Anyway, yeah, I think your personality is a really big impact on on how you learn languages, just because, you know, if you're more extroverted, obviously the way your approach to learning languages has to be different than if you're introverted, right? Or if you're someone who's a very studious person, right, your approach might be different. You might go to more classes versus not going to classes, right? So I think it really does depend, right? Or for example, if you have a hobby, for example, if you have let's say singing, a really good strategy for you might be to actually try singing songs in a language that you're trying to learn, right? So I know singing isn't exactly personality, but I think just globally, I think personality, your interests, I think a lot of that has to do a lot with how you choose to study and how you choose to learn a language. So number 5, how do you prefer learning languages, in class or individually? Personally, I'm a fan of both. In my past experience, I find that I like to start in class. I feel like starting in class gives me a good base, gives me a good baseline. Gives me a good baseline, gives me like a good some of the basic knowledge. Start communicating, learning how the writing system works, learning some of the basics of grammar, learning a lot of that. I think there's some good value in that for sure. That being said, I am someone who likes to do a lot of individual study as well. So whether that's language partners, whether that's traveling like I am now in China and learning in the country where the language is actually spoken. I think personally, I like to do a mixture of both. I like to do a lot of in-class as well as individual. I think for me, it's like the marriage of the two. It's the love child of the two that really helps you learn best. So next one here. Where are we here? So number 6, what are your favorite language learning materials? I don't know. No idea. I'm actually I'm not overly well versed in a lot of the language learning materials, to be honest. I know what, like Anki, it's like an app for your phone, like flashcard app to help memorize different vocabulary things. I really like italki. It's a website that you can find language teachers for really cheap, and then language partners for free. So I'm a big fan. I am a big fan of italki. It's a website. Apart from that, not a ton. Oh, Meetup I guess is good too. Meetup.com, good way to just meet different people who are also learning the language you're learning. Yeah, apart from that, can't really think of too much. I'm not overly well versed in a lot of language learning materials, but I think for me, like, just to take this answer a little bit more global, you know, I think a lot of people spend way too much time on trying to find the best materials or trying to find the best app or the best website to learn a language, instead of taking that time and just literally deploying it into learning the language. Right? It's kind of like saying, man, I really want to learn French, so I'm going to read all these books and read all these articles on what's the best method. I'm going to spend 10 hours doing that or 100 hours doing that, versus going, well, let's take those 100 hours or 10 hours or 50 hours or whatever. Let's take those hours and actually focus it on a method. Let's pick a method and go with it and forget if it's the best method or not. I'm a big fan of just picking a method and going with it along the way, right? So for example, if you choose to go in a classroom and after 20 hours, you might decide, some of the stuff in the class is working for me, some stuff isn't working, let me adjust, right? I think that's probably the better approach, is to pick a system, play with the system, and if you don't like it, change. It's better than just sitting there trying to figure out what's the best, or what's the best language learning material. So number 7, how much time do you spend actively learning per day / week? I think it depends on the time. Right now it's a lot. So I'm actually traveling for the sole purpose of languages. So, you know, looking at a minimum of 4 hours a day, probably a maximum of 7 to 8 hours a day. So it is a very, very intensive process. But you know, in my day-to-day life when I'm working, it really depends. In my worst, I've gone from doing 0 hours a week to obviously now it's basically a full-time gig, right? It's a full-time learning Chinese and basically a full-time or almost full-time focus on learning a language. So I think it depends on what time frame I've been in. So but actually going back on that, I do think, I got a live viewer on Facebook. This is so exciting. Who's watching me? Please comment. I gotta know who's watching. This is exciting. Anyway, But I think the big thing for how much time I spend actively learning per day and per week, I think if you are serious about learning a language, I do think you're going to need probably a minimum of 15 to 20 hours a week, right? If you're doing 5, 10 hours a week, it's just, in my experience, in my opinion, it's not really enough. And we lost the live viewer on Facebook. Damn, I guess I scared them away. Oh, well, it is what it is. Okay. Next one here. What are your short-term and long-term language learning goals? Well, short-term, really focusing heavily on learning Chinese, getting way better, way faster, which is good. But again, got a long way to go. I'm thinking about majoring in Chinese, so actually getting a degree in Chinese once I'm back in Canada. That'll be a bit of a longer-term goal. So obviously more of a 4, 5, 6-year goal, depending on 7-year goal, 8-year goal, depending on how quickly I choose to major in it. But that's something I'm thinking about more long-term. And if you really want to go long-term, I've got a list of 8 languages I want to learn. So we got English, Spanish, French, Mandarin, Gujarati, Hindi, Arabic, Russian. That's kind of my 8 minimums that I really want to learn, ideally in the next probably 16 years. So by the time I'm about 40 or so, that'd be in an ideal world. So what is your favorite language? That's number 9. I have no idea. I think Spanish is my favorite language to speak. I really love South American people, especially. I find they're very friendly, super, super friendly. And I just like the feeling I have when speaking with them. So it's a lot of fun talking with South American and Spanish speaking people. I think Spanish is my favorite one to speak, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite language, absolutely. But yeah, it's good though. I do like it. And second last question. What is the next language you want to learn? I think Gujarati is the next one, or Hindi, probably Hindi Gujarati, because Gujarati is technically, I guess, my native language because it was my family's language. But quite honestly, I'm not amazing at it. I'm a heck of a lot better at English than I am Gujarati. So I feel kind of silly because I speak English, French, Spanish, all better than my own home language. So I think it probably will have to be the next one I'm thinking. Oh, we got a live viewer again. Hello, live viewer. I wonder if we have any on YouTube. Do we have any live viewers on YouTube here? Nope, none on YouTube. I guess it's a really weird hour for most of you. It's afternoon for me, but it's middle of the night for most of you guys. So, all right, next one here. I guess the last one here is, what advice can you give to new language learners? Well, check out my YouTube channel, I guess. I mean, that's basically what the channel's filled with. But I think, I think generally, probably the biggest thing I could say right now that's coming to mind is to do more doing and less thinking. I think there's a tendency for a lot of people when it comes to learning a language, there's a bit of a tendency to think a lot about, okay, I want to learn French. So how am I going to do this? Am I going to take a university class? Am I going to choose this tutor? Am I going to choose this teacher? Like, how am I going to do this? I think there's a tendency to do that. And personally, I don't think that's the best way to go, because then you spend all this time contemplating and debating on, you spend a lot of time thinking and not a lot of time actually studying the language. And so you waste a lot of time. And often you actually psyche yourself out. You spend so much time thinking about learning the language you want to learn that you don't actually spend any time actually learning it. So I think that's a really big one. I think as well, spending as much time speaking. I'm a big fan of speaking from day one. What I mean by that is I am a big fan of, even if you're very, very basic in the language, finding opportunities to speak even just a little bit every single day. I think that's a really big one too. In my experience, now this is me, this might not be everyone, but typically what I've seen in people and myself for sure is once I can speak well, the reading and writing actually. But if I can read and write, the speaking doesn't necessarily become easier. You know what I mean? So for me, it's always a big focus for me to be able to speak first. And I might speak as a primary focus, speaking and listening as a primary focus, reading and writing as a secondary focus. So that is our language tag. I'm going to tag some more people here. I'm going to tag, actually don't know who. I'll write in the YouTube comments who we're going to tag. For Facebook, let's tag some people on Facebook too. Let's tag, I'm trying to think who I know. I'll write some in the comments. I think I'll write one in the comments of who I want to tag next. Facebook, I'm not sure if I'll tag people. I'll think about if I know people on Facebook I want to tag. But YouTube will definitely tag some more people. So thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. How do I turn these? How do I stop these here? Oh, Facebook. How do I finish this? Finish. Aha, ending live video, and let's stop on YouTube. Boom.